Okay, so let's move on to making some tree branches and getting some leaves on those trees. Okay, so we're going to start off with this technique this time. I've taken a lot of pictures of trees and leaves. Since the first batch, I went out and took a load more. And I specifically went and got some oak tree leaves, as you can see on this photograph. I laid them out on a table and took a picture of them. And now I'm going to cut them out and use them, clean them up, use them as my source for my leaves, for my oak trees, which is pretty cool. There's a few rules when you do this kind of work. When you go outside and you take pictures of things you're going to use, make sure you do it in shadow. Here's a good example of how not to take pictures. All this shadowing and this lighting, it's just too much work to clean up. So I did that initially just to take a bad picture to show you what not to do, because it's just, there's too much variation in the value of those greens, and you've got some specular on the leaves, and it's just a mess. So then I moved it into shadow. As you can see the difference, the same leaves, just slightly different. There's a tinge of blue in here, but I'm going to cut these out, or I already have actually, just by using my color picker. And then I'm going to go in and start cleaning them up, positioning them, and position them nicely on my page. And then we're going to use the same technique we used for the grass to build some leaves and subsequently build some branches for our trees. So here's where I've started on my PSD file here. You can see I've worked on these times. I tick them as I go through them and clean them up. I sort of tick them. So this one down here is pretty clean now. This one down here is pretty clean. I can use that, and I like all this, anomalies on leaves. It's really good. Instead of having just a bright green leaf, it's nice to have some damage and some bits eaten away, because that's what nature does, especially stuff like this. I probably won't use that leaf. It's a bit blurry. Something weird about that leaf, but I really like this burning sort of dead dry patch, so I might incorporate that into some of these other leaves, so just so I got some variation. So first job is I'm going to clean these up. So basically I'm going to go around, because you can see the edges not quite clean, not sharp. Just clean up all the edges, position them nice and neatly, and then resize the image so it's a good size. What size is it at the moment? Image size at the moment is it's not good, pixels. It's 1545 by 1032. So we probably want, I can probably fit that into 1024 maybe. We'll see how we go. So that's the next job, is to clean them all up and then lay them all out nicely on a page so we can use them in 3D Studio. So let's do that now. Okay, so leaves all clean. I created a 1024 by 1024 with an alpha channel, and I've brought it into max and applied it to a square plane, just like we did with our grass, exactly the same. And you can see I've already subdivided the plane up into pieces, and I've already split them off. So if I unhide them, you can see here on my leaves I've selected the quads and I've pulled them off, and I've already shaped them just exactly the same. There's no point in me showing you the same thing twice. The last thing to do is to shape them, and you can see I've started to do that with this one, and it's very simple. I'm just going to just pull the verts around just to give them a nice shape. And then what we're going to do, once we've shaped them, we're going to start building some small branches to put them onto, actual 3D branches, and then we will render them out just like we did with the grass. So we'll render our branches and make some more branches. Basically, we're just going to build it up until we've got some big branches that we can put onto our tree. And you can see my tree here. So I'm aiming to get something like this with smaller branches, and even smaller branches with all our leaves on it. And so we can stick them all over these bigger branches. And this is kind of how you do it. So, well, this is one way to do it. I showed you, showing you various techniques. I showed you the grass, so we actually build the grass completely from scratch. And I could have built these from scratch, the leaves, and actually modelled them, and then rendered the models. But I want to show you different techniques. This is literally from photographs, so you know it's quite a good way to do it. Collapse that for a minute. See if we can get an FFD to work on this. I've had trouble with. Oh yeah, there you go. So an FFD. You can put an FFD on, and that will help bend the leaves into shape. Give them a nice curve. Like that. So there's 2 of them done. So this will take, what, 5-10 minutes. I'll go along and do the rest on fast forward, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so there they all are, all ready. All ready to be stuck onto little branches. That's interesting. Why is that one like that? Okay, so off like that. There you go. Okay, so all ready to be stuck onto branches. So the idea from here is to actually model some branches, and we're going to use our freeform branches tool. So we'll just model some branches, and we'll modify them, stick a texture on them, and stick these leaves onto them, make it look pretty realistic, and then actually render them out. And once we've rendered them out, we can then stick them all over our tree using our paint object. So if you go along here, object paint, we're going to use this to paint branches and leaves and things on our tree. So lots of new stuff to learn. I think that's it for now. Okay, one more thing you need to do before we move on is just place your pivot point for each of your objects. So affect pivot only, and just place it at the base where the stem is, like that. Because what that does is, if we try and rotate that now, it rotates at the bottom, and it's just easier to place. When we paint, if we stick these on any objects, that's where they'll attach, where the pivot point is. So it's quite handy to do that. In fact, it's really important that you do that. So with each one, I've already done it, but because I curved, I modified the meshes, I'll just go along and redo them now. They look pretty good. You might want to reset the X form. You can see it's not quite right in places. Yeah, I just need to move mine in, each one of them. But you probably, when you do yours, make sure you move it right into position so that they can be rotated at the base, like I showed you. Yeah, that's it. Ready to go with those. So hopefully you should be at this stage before progressing. So make sure you've got like 6 or 7 leaves. You can have different ones. You can have ones with holes in, and ones that are brown, half autumn leaves, and what have you. Whatever you want to do, whatever, you can have some with this stuff on. Whatever makes it interesting. The details, it's the details that count. But I think it should be fine. And so in the next lecture, we're going to start building our little branches. I'll show you some reference of what we're going to do, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one.